Good evening, folks, and welcome in here. I'm meteorologist Ross Mumal for First Coast News. Want to give you an update on the tropics and our weather impact alerts that are going to be in effect for both your Tuesday and your Wednesday afternoon and evening. So as of 8 o'clock from the National Hurricane Center, that broad area of low pressure that we have been monitoring and watching here now for the past several days, just to the east of the east side of Florida here, they have increased the likelihood or the potential chances of tropical development. So now a medium 40% chance of tropical development over the next 7 days, and now a 30% chance of tropical development over the next 48 hours or overall 2 days. And the overall circulation, although still relatively weak, has strengthened just a hair. So as of 2 o'clock, sustained winds were at 25 miles per hour. Now sustained winds at 30 miles per hour. And you can see from this afternoon and earlier this evening, all those thunderstorms that fired up across South Carolina, Georgia, and really across a large swath of Florida, those are all continuing to push further off to the west, and that area of circulation continues to be almost due east of the Space Coast down to our south. So some areas are still monitoring some rain and thunderstorms much further off to the west, really even west of I-75 here now, and still some light rain streaming in across the northern part of the Okefenokee up across southeast Georgia. So Ware, Charlton County, even far southwestern Brantley County, still seeing a little bit of some rain, but it's pretty much the Suwannee and areas further to the south and southwest that are continuing to still see some thunderstorm activity here this evening. Now, take a look off to our east or southeast even. You can almost see right down here where that swirl is becoming just a little bit more defined. So right there at the bottom right-hand side of your screen, as I said, winds are only at 30 miles per hour, so we're not to the point yet of tropical depression or even tropical storm formation or reaching that criteria. And really, it might not even look all that impressive based on satellite imagery, at least the infrared satellite, and on radar, primarily because we have this batch of drier air. You can see it coming in here from the north and northeast. That's keeping the convection and the thunderstorm activity on the northern side of this storm pretty much non-existent. So plenty of moisture and thunderstorms still trying to fire up on the southern extent, but northern extent and northern edge here, that drier air kind of eroding away some of that moisture. That is eventually going to work its way westward, slide onshore here overnight tonight and into early tomorrow morning, kind of keeping us dry for about the next 12 hours or so. Then by tomorrow afternoon, all that tropical moisture sweeps back on in over the First Coast. We're going to have another chance to see some pretty heavy rainfall in some locations. So pretty much think I-10 southward going to be your best chance, and not only to see heavy rain, but a few strong to severe thunderstorms. We could see wind gusts upwards of 40 to 50 miles per hour. Obviously, frequent lightning, that's been a big story over the past week. We've had those unfortunate lightning strikes at the St. Augustine Pier and also up near the Waycross area in Ware County. So lightning certainly on top of mind. Be mindful of that if you're spending any time outdoors here, either tomorrow or Wednesday. But then areas north of I-10, yes, you're still going to have some rain chances tomorrow, but overall it's going to be a little bit diminished. So let's take you through hour by hour what you can expect. So first half of the day, I think most of us stay dry. As I had said, that drier air is still going to be in place. Now, by 11:30, that drier air will either have worked well off to the west or will generally just completely have eroded away thanks to the more tropical-like air and moisture sweeping in from the east. So could we see some coastal showers early tomorrow morning? Yes, but I think that's only about a 20 or 30% chance. Then as you get closer to lunchtime, a few more isolated showers trying to come on in. And then there, 2, 3, 4 o'clock, that center of circulation starts to move on shore. This model does bring the circulation a little bit further northward, but wherever it goes here, our impacts and overall rain and thunderstorm chances still going to stay the same. So that's really the key that you want to focus on. Areas down towards Gainesville, Putnam County, Southern Clay, Southern St. Johns, Flagler, Union, Bradford, Southern Columbia, all have the best chances to see some of those stronger thunderstorms, and models are definitely starting to pick up on that here this evening. Now, as I said, that doesn't mean areas north of I-10 still don't have a good chance to see some rain. I think it's just going to be a little bit more isolated, sparse in some locations. But if you've lived on the First Coast for any length of time here now, or just in a tropical area in general, you know that we get these bands that come in. So There's a band. There's another band trying to come on in. So, of course, this is just a model trying to depict what happens or what could happen. So certainly, up by Folkestone, could see a strong, heavy band rolling in that could bring some heavy rain. So all of us have the potential to see heavy rain. It's just the best chance is going to be further across more of our southern counties there throughout tomorrow afternoon and then continuing into the evening hour. And the Weather Prediction Center's excessive rainfall risk or outlook is pretty much hand in hand with that, right? So more of our southern counties, northeast Florida, having the better chance to see excessive heavy rainfall, whereas areas northward up across southeast Georgia, slightly lower chance. Now, I want to talk a little bit about the potential for development, right? What ingredients are in place that could allow a storm to strengthen and develop further? Well, firstly, temperatures in the mid to northern Gulf, incredibly warm, well above average for this time of the year. These are typical temperatures in late summer, mid to late August even. So we're talking mid to upper 80s, even 89 degrees there in Mobile Bay. Certainly a little bit cooler along our coastline, but nonetheless, it is very warm in the northern Gulf. So there's plenty of heat and energy available in the ocean, not only at the surface within the first meter, but really within the first probably 5 meters or so of the ocean. That ocean heat content starting to rise a little bit. So plenty of juice for the storm to feed off of is another way you could potentially say it. Then let's look at the wind shear in the upper level flow. You notice wind shear, although it's not a lot, there is some over in the western Gulf and of course just off to our east here. So that's going to limit any level of development, at least on the east side of Florida. But over in the west, check it out. There's nothing. Very little wind shear, if any at all. So you combine the lack of wind shear with the very warm sea surface temperatures, this would be an area that is favorable or would be conducive for tropical development over at least the next 2 to 3 days. Now, we're going to play it out here a little bit, Wednesday into Thursday. You can see the winds. These are your upper level winds. So we're talking 30, 40,000 feet, your jet stream, 250 millibar level winds, all out of the west. So that is why although, the system could form either off to our east early tomorrow morning as a tropical depression over Florida or eventually form in the northern Gulf by, either late tomorrow night or into early Wednesday. Either way, it's going to continue to work west thanks to the upper level steering flow pushing it that way. Okay, so no matter what happens here, this storm's still going to go away. It's not going to be one of those situations, that the system develops and then swings back east towards, Florida's Gulf Coast and eventually over the first coast. That's not happening. If the storm develops, it's just going to head due west and eventually head out towards either the Mississippi or Louisiana coastline, or perhaps even as far west as Texas. So Houston, Corpus Christi, of course, also have the potential to see something from this. But overall, favorable environment for the storm to possibly develop. And this all stemmed from a surface trough that's dipped down across the Carolinas and Georgia. That surface low pressure began to form and then expected to slide over to the first coast, or at least over north central Florida throughout the day tomorrow. By Wednesday, the storm is expected to be at least in the eastern, if not northeastern Gulf, and then continue to head further westward there as you head through late Wednesday and into Thursday and the end of the week, pulling away the majority of the energy and the vast majority of the tropical-like moisture away from the first coast. So here's another way to show it to you. It's pretty much just showing, the types of energy available to the storm. So taking it further and further westward, this model takes it much closer to the Louisiana and Texas border there in the northern Gulf. This is all still just kind of your typical like Florida, pattern during mid-July. Plenty of thunderstorms here, of course, but this is really where the tropical-like system could be. So here's kind of another way to break it down on some separate scenarios that could happen, and I really do think there's pretty much 3 situations that occur. First of which, we're going to talk about the yellow line. So potential track here, more so across north central Florida or northern Florida, spends less time over the northern Gulf, so less time over the very warm ocean waters, ends up making landfall in the northern Gulf. Very little chance of further tropical development if that is the case. Now, if it takes a little bit more of a southerly track, right? So down a little bit closer from, Daytona Beach, Orlando, down towards Tampa, and then out into the Gulf, swings westward and eventually back north a little bit, spends more time over the water, then we're talking, okay, it's much more likely that you get a tropical depression or perhaps even a tropical storm, which the next name is Dexter. We had Tropical Storm Chantal last week, right, or the week before. So it would be Tropical Storm Dexter. D is the next name on the list there. That is a much better or likelier possibility if the storm takes a little bit southerly of a track. Even more so if it dips down towards the Everglades, down towards Fort Myers, and then makes this big swoop. I mean, that is a long fetch or a long time over the very warm ocean waters in the Gulf. Then we're, really increasing those storm chances. So now we're talking a tropical storm, potentially a strong tropical storm. I think the chances of a hurricane are very, very low, but not zero if it would happen to take that track. So kind of three separate scenarios here. I want to show you what some of the spaghetti models are actually showing. So this just came out about 35 minutes ago or so. Most of these pretty much track it right over Central Florida or North Central Florida. So think Putnam County and Alachua County over Gainesville down to Orlando. Most spaghetti plots bring it on shore right there. Then they kind of diverge a little bit as it begins to near, the Gulf and the northeastern portion of the Gulf. Some models swing it right on shore. Others take it a little bit further westward and then bring it on shore near Mobile Bay or Biloxi. Others take it even further west out towards New Orleans. Either way, almost all of these keep it at or below tropical storm level. So if you happen to have any family or friends who live out across the northern Gulf Coast and you're worried about them, let them know there's going to be a wave of, moisture, tropical moisture, and likely heavy rain on the way over the next couple of days. But at least based off of what we are seeing and the data that is coming into us, best chances of seeing something stronger than that are quite slim, really. So tropical depression, probably at a minimum by the time it gets over into the northern Gulf, a strong tropical storm at best, based on what a lot of the spaghetti forecast models are starting to show us here. So here's another way to look at it. There comes the wave of tropical moisture. Again, tropical wave Invest 93L. So this is late Tuesday night into early Wednesday morning, already taking it into the northern Gulf. Notice back over the first coast, as the tropical moisture moves away from us, we actually do get slightly drier air as you head into late Wednesday and perhaps even into Thursday and Friday. So although this is going to keep your eye, obviously this is where that circulation and all the tropical-like moisture is going to be. This takes it a little bit further west down towards southern Louisiana. Here's that dry slot that we were talking about, potentially swinging on in by the end of the week, lowering our rain chances just a little. So by Thursday and Friday, key there is this system's going to be well off to our west, will be no longer of an impact to us here on the first coast. So how much rain could we see by the time this whole system exits off to our west? I think most of us, if you average it out, right? If you take the average between Waycross and Folkestone and Hunta, Brunswick, St. Mary's, you average them out across southeast Georgia, most folks might see an inch, if that. Areas further to the south and southwest, you're going to see slightly more, 1 to 3 inches for folks, along the St. Johns River Basin, St. Johns County, Clay, Flagler, Putnam even. We're talking 1 to 3 inches. Areas further toward the Gulf, so south or southwest from there even, down towards, Perry, Florida, down to Tampa even. Okay, you can maybe see 2 to 4 inches. Locally, higher amounts could be possible there as well. But just really want to stress, our impacts here on the first coast